I have spent hundreds of hours watching YouTube videos, trying to understand what could I do in my spare time with limited resources to generate passive income from my home. I have seen many videos that claim or promise that these ideas could help you to generate passive income, but most of them were very cumbersome, required quite a bit of time to develop, and also did not really meet my criteria of a passive income. This is why I'm making this video, because I've heard about the Gator method by Morby. He is a flipper and a wholesaler in the real estate community. I was watching his videos at first to learn how to invest in real estate with no money down. And then this video really grabbed my attention. This is a true original thought that I have never seen in any of the videos on passive income, which I previously watched. I'm sharing this with you. He has a 2-hour Zoom call, recorded Zoom call, that he posted online that describes the Gator method of passive income. Because I assume you're here because you don't want to watch 2 hours without really knowing what it's going to be about. So I am creating the Cliff Notes version of that video where I'm going to compress his ideas so you could quickly look at the highlights and determine if this passive income idea is for you. Without further ado, let's watch.
But in earnest money. So typically, if you're working with a real estate agent is going to require you to put up 1% of the purchase price as earnest money at title and escrow. How many wholesalers actually have the ability? Very, very few. Very few wholesalers. In fact, it's over 83% of wholesalers have no clue. Okay, they have no clue where to come up with this $1,000 or whatever.
So basically, Pace is describing here in a snippet the genesis of his idea. How did he come up with the idea of the Gator method lending? Let's watch.
So let me pull this up. I'm just pulling up my Dropbox, do a little screenshot. So here's a purchase and sell agreement that these wholesalers are using. You'll see right here, as they buy the property, they're going to have the property address. Right here, right? This is the agreement they signed between the seller and themselves. And then right here, on every contract, every legal contract, there is a requirement for earnest money, or what we call the deposit. Okay, so the average is about $1,000 to $2,000.
Actually, the average is about 1%. So if your purchase agreement, if the contract for the purchase of the house is $200,000, then the deposit would be $2,000. If it's $500,000, then the deposit would be about $5,000.
And this is the problem for wholesalers. Wholesalers typically ignore people in real estate. They don't have an abundance of cash. In fact, a lot of people are meeting the wholesalers don't have any cash. So I sat there one day as I own title companies. I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh. It started reminding me of my Reuben story.
Okay, so he's going to describe how he came up with the idea that he could lend that $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to the wholesaler for a short amount of time in return for a, let's just say, double of the money being given to him at closing. I'm going to pause here so we don't waste time.
We own a title company here in Phoenix. And my escrow officer, the lady who does all the paperwork there, I call her up and I say, hey, we have a lot of wholesalers that are not opening escrow with earnest money. She says it's our #1 problem. Our #1 problem in our escrow company is the wholesalers come and give us contracts to handle the paperwork that they legally have to. That's how real estate works. And they are not bringing earnest money to the table because, or what we call as EMD, earnest money deposit, because they don't have the money.
So basically what he's saying that 83% of all offline purchases that are done through wholesalers are at the risk of not being completed because the wholesaler doesn't have the earnest money deposit. This is the whole idea. We're going to see how he's going to draw out the structure that he's creating where he helps the wholesaler and the wholesaler pays him back dividends, creating passive income for Pace.
I go, can you give me one of their phone numbers? So I get their phone number. I call the wholesale. I said, hey, and that the title company is not going to be able to open up escrow. And the wholesaler says, yeah, but I don't have the money yet. I don't have the money yet. I'm trying to do this with no money in the pocket. I'm trying to figure out how to get into the game. You know, wholesalers are typically hustlers. They're hustlers. And so I went to him and I said, how much would you pay me? Right? You've got a deal that you're going to make basically $15,800 on when you find your buyer. If I brought your $1,000 of earnest money to the table, how much would you pay me out of your $15,800 profit? Wholesaler, first wholesaler I did this deal with, okay? He says I would pay you $5,000.
Now that is a huge chunk. I'm pretty sure that story is true. I have no doubt that Pace would not say something that was not true. But in reality, a wholesaler giving up 1/3 of his profit for $1,000 loan, I don't know. I'm sure that there are some wholesalers who are going to do that, but I would estimate that most wholesalers are going to try to negotiate it to giving you $2,000 back, maybe 2.5, maybe 3. 5 is a little steep since he's only being paid 15,000. But it's okay. You know, even if somebody gave him $2,000 back, that would basically double his investment overnight.
If I could walk away, the wholesaler says, if I could just walk away with $10,800, I would be so ecstatic. I go, no problem. So I call my attorney and I go, hey, Sean, and Sean St. Clair, my contract attorney, he's the guy that writes all the Gator documents. I call Sean, I go, Sean, put together a package for me that protects my money, sets up the agreement with this wholesaler that I can bring the $1,000 deposit to the table.
I'm going to fast forward to some other important parts of this video because I don't want to spend too much time on the original idea. I want to see how he implements it. If you want to know more about his original idea, go back to this video.
Spent, I don't know, probably over $20,000 to $30,000 on these contracts, putting them into the situation they're in today. The Gator contracts are at least worth that. Okay. But on my first deal, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. How many wholesalers at every title company are failing to open escrow with earnest money? Give me a thumbs up if you understand this flow. Give me a thumbs up, an emoji if you understand this flow. Okay, so
now, but I would say that if you're watching this video because you found it to looking for ways to make passive income, if you understand what he's talking about, this might be easier for you to grasp the idea behind this passive income method. If you don't understand the concept because you in your state, or maybe you never bought real estate, maybe you don't know how the purchase agreement for real estate operates, or maybe you're just not ever been around people who talk about flipping real estate, wholesaling real estate, this might be difficult for you to grasp what he's talking about. But trust me, there is a passive idea worth $1 million right there on that screen.
That's where the opportunity popped up. I was like, okay, that's cool. You know what the great part about this was? Is I didn't use any money of my own. That $1,000, I actually had a line of credit. I had a line of credit, wasn't even my own money. The bank just said, here you go. When you pull the money off, you pay 4% interest. So I pull $1,000 off, send it over the title. 10 days later, I not only got my $1,000 back, but I got $5,000 in return. And for me, it basically paid for all the contracts and all the paperwork. And I was like, I'm in business now. all the contracts are paid for with my first deal profit. I can now go out and start raking up deals. And all I did was start calling title companies and saying, hey, when you have a wholesaler that doesn't have money to open up escrow, I'm the guy to solve that problem.
Making more and more money based on zero initial investment. So let's watch.
So will your ability to get access to more and more capital and do more and more deals, and potentially at some point, depending on what you want to do, maybe build a full-fledged business around this and build a team, maybe even get an office and build something that you are making money on other people's real estate transactions. And what's cool about this is that first deal I did I have to find the deal? No. Did I have to negotiate with the seller? No. Did I have to flip the house? No. Did I have to deal with a tenant? No. Did I even have to deal with, technically, my own money? No. Now,
and this is where the passive part of the Gator lending comes in. It is as passive. It's not 100% passive, but it is like 90% more passive than most of the passive income ideas I have heard online.
Now, what we have done is for the Gator community, as you join the Gator community.
Okay, he's talking more about his Gator community. Let's skip that.
Let's go back. Come on, give me more emojis there. More emojis. So let's talk about this. And let's go back to the real estate transaction. This is where I want to take a little bit more time today. Are we all excited about Gator 1.0 and what Gator 1.0 can do for you and the cool bonus? We pumped up about that. Thank you for all the emojis. I appreciate it. Okay. We now know the flow of a deal, right? Here's the flow of a deal. I should probably just draw it. Here's the flow of a deal. Remember, every deal starts with a seller. Okay. Every deal ends with a buyer, right? And that buyer is going to do one of three things. Okay. One, that buyer is going to live in it. Two, that buyer is going to flip it. Or three, that buyer is going to rent it out. Okay. So the wholesaler, we already know, I'm going to call it WS. We already know I can come into that wholesaler and I can insert myself into the deal that they found and the $15,000 on it. This is just the average number, $15,800. I can insert myself in those deals. Okay. I already know if I bring the earnest money to this part of the transaction, I can get paid, and that is Gator 1.0. You know what's really cool is that what we did in Gator is we created a strategy called Gator 2.0, where we brought, blow your mind right now, okay, me and the team brought $30 million to the table that you guys as Gators can go out and give people loans to live in the house, flip the house, or even rent the house long term. We are now giving Gator 2.0. Okay, Gator 2.0 is now you can use our money, and I will also teach you how to go and acquire more money from other people. We will let you use our money. We call this Alpha Gator. Okay, the platform we built. Check this out. This is crazy. Okay, so in Gator 2.0 strategy, let's say that this is PACE. Okay, and I go and I do Gator 1.0 with the wholesaler. Right, make my money, make my pound of flesh, make my $5,000 a year. If I'm involved in that transaction, don't you think I'm going to know who the buyer is? So what if I call the buyer and I go, hey, buyer, if you're going to rent that property, you probably need a loan. I can get you money for that loan. I can get you approved.
Did you guys get that? So what he's basically saying is that lending money to the wholesaler to do the earnest money deposit and waiting for the closing to get the money back is only step one. Now you could stop there if you wanted to, but knowing that this property is being wholesaled to an investor, you can assume that the investor is either going to flip it or rent it. In either way, he might need additional money. Now, with additional transaction, what he's basically saying that it's like a two in one deal, means that from one lead to this wholesaler, he can now upsell, or he can now create a secondary customer for his lending services by approaching the final buyer for this property. Now, that's an additional layer of risk because even though your contract is currently secured with the wholesaler, he has the paperwork for that to make sure that you get paid. Now, that wholesaler contract is maybe 1 to 2 weeks, means that within 1 to 2 weeks, you'll get your money back plus. So when you're lending money for a flip, that could take anywhere between 3 to 6 months. You may not see your money for another 3 to 6 months. Or if the flip doesn't go too well and the flipper actually loses money, you may not be able to get paid. I'm not sure if he has the paperwork to make sure that he gets paid back. So I would say that Gator 2.0 is a more risky scenario, but Gator 1.0 is actually a very doable and not a very risky scenario at all. Now, there's still some inherent risks in any kind of transaction. There's some risks, but in this particular case, I can see how Gator 1.0 is an interesting concept that anybody can execute without having to go into Gator 2.0 and risking additional capital over a longer period of time. But let's watch.
For that loan, the buyer's going to say, by the way, guys, you know what the number one search thing in all of real estate is where can I find a hard money lender? Where can I find private money? Where can I find money? How do I do these deals? You are the answer. The Gators are the answer to this. And so what we did in the last 6 months is we not only gave you the ability to do double closes. Some of you guys don't know what a double close is. That's what we teach Gator. We give you the ability to also do DSCR loans, long-term lending loans, hard money loans on fix and flips. So literally,
I'm not sure what he's saying. I'm not sure if he's proposing that you insert yourself into the DSCR, which is an investment loan, fix and flip loans, etc. Or if he's saying that we could become, I'm sure that's not what he's saying, but it almost sounds like what he's saying is that we could execute or we could be in charge with the DSCR loan, which is, I believe, is completely unrealistic. But maybe he's saying that we can become a part of the DSCR loan, providing the 20-25% down payment for a DSCR loan. DSCR loan is a loan for a real estate investment property, a rental property. I think so. I think that's what he's trying to say.
every real estate transaction that is out there happening right now, you have the ability to make money on every single one of them, utilizing our back-end Alpha Gator platform. The coolest part about it is that you don't have to use any of your own money. You can use the money we brought to the table to go out and refer these people into your own website. We'll help you build a website that now, check this out. This is the mind-blowing part. The mind-blowing part, if that wasn't already so cool, is that every time that buyer, okay, so let's say that buyer goes, all right, hey, I'll buy that deal. I'll go do this flip with this project and I'll use Alpha Gator's money. Every time that flipper goes back and does another deal, I never have to talk to that person ever again because they are plugged into my platform. And every time they borrow money from Alpha Gator, I get paid on every deal they do. So if you're already on Gator 1.0 deals, the Gator 2.0 deals, now you're going to be doing the long-term loans, the short-term loans, the BRRRR loans. Do you guys know how many people are doing BRRRR loans? Look at Bigger Pockets, who I wrote a book with. Bigger Pockets has 2.3 million people on their paid VIP program that are all learning how to go out and get loans to go out and put the rentals in their portfolio. 2 points to that. So let's get into Gator Method just for a couple of minutes. Here's what Gator Method is. Okay, this is what's really cool. You're going to learn, if you guys join the Gator community, you guys are going to learn Gator wrestling, like how to do deals with other Gators. Huge advantage, right? This is what we were talking about with Jade and Alexis and Abraham, is that we've brought a bonus to the table, letting you use my money and let my team do the paperwork for you. We'll just Gator wrestle together. We'll wrestle together and do deals together. You're going to get the legal contracts. I don't know what we spent on the legal contracts, but Sean St. Clair, our contract attorney, comes in frequently. We update the paperwork based on all 50 states. Here's a couple of questions. People always ask, can this be done outside of the United States? I'm not lending or doing deals outside of the United States, but can you live outside of the United States and do them virtually here in the United States? The answer is yes. No matter where you are in the world, you can do these deals inside of the 50 United States. Puerto Rico, Alaska, everywhere, literally everywhere this works. The contracts is why I bring this up. The contracts that we've written work in all 50 states. Okay. And our transaction coordinators from top tier TC or the transaction coordinator that I bring to the table, Jade.
So what basically you need to take out of this, guys, that unless you are a part of his Gator community, you will need to figure out how to create a contract that would allow you to basically get repaid and sleep at night, knowing that your money are safe and nobody's going to run out with your money.
Jarvis. She will do the paperwork for you guys when we do.
And that contract is probably going to be called JV, which is called joint venture. I would love to find a copy of his JV agreement for the earnest money. I would really love to. I might search for it online.
That's one of the things that Abraham just talked. Abraham talked about how they just made $180,000 on a business deal in Gator 3.0. If I don't.
Okay, so this is it. Gator 3.0, I have a feeling that they're going to step away from the actual real estate and start funding startups, businesses, etc.
Get a chance to get to it. Gator 3.0 is how I teach you guys how to utilize somebody else's capital that we will help bring to the table and let you guys go.
My only concern is that it sounds like he has some 18 years old, 80 years old, anything in between, people with no legal training, people with no business training, people with no accounting training, people with no real estate training, injecting themselves into very complicated transactions. And if the real estate, if the Gator 1.0 sounded simple as a hammer, here's earnest money, here's money for the earnest money. Simple, simple, simple. I can see how both 18 years old and 80 years old, assuming that they understand and have a copy of that JV agreement, I can see how they could do it. 2.0, from the sound of it, is a little bit more complicated, where you start instead of just earnest money, you're starting to fund flips, you're starting to fund bridge loans, etc. Now, at this point, I'm not sure whether you need a license, mortgage origination license. Probably not. If he's not saying that you do, it means that he already investigated that. But at this point, you're becoming a part of more complicated long-term transactions. And I believe that without understanding real estate, understanding cost of flipping, understand the process of flipping, understand the ARV, after repair resale value, all those things, you can accidentally insert yourself into a transaction after which you're going to be left holding the ball. You will not be able to return your money. So I would say for those of you who are thinking about this Gator method, just 1.0 sounds like the most secure transaction. 2.0 sounds like a much less secure transaction. And once you get into the 3.0, from the sound of it, it's going to be funding businesses like acquisition of business, startup money, etc. People who are 18 years old or 80 years old who are not part of those industries, I just don't know if it's a good idea to try to throw them into that environment where and they're not even using their own money, they're using somebody else's money. I'm not sure about 3.0, but I know that Pace is a really smart guy. So if he found a way to do it, it means that there is a way to do it. I'm just saying that for those of you watching, I would say, unless you have degree in business management and accounting, or you have somebody who can help you with business management and accounting, understanding financial statements, understanding P&L, doing a lot of other things, I just don't see the Gator 3 as being a viable proposition for like 90% of people who have some money to spend.
Lend on people's businesses like orthodontists, dentists, construction companies, helping them buy equipment and pay for their payroll. We're going to show you guys how to get involved in business lending, utilizing somebody else's money.
It's almost like taking somebody out of first grade and putting them straight into a senior college level. That's what the difference between 1.0 and 3.0.
Abraham and Alexis made $180,000 on one transaction. That's crazy. I had to do a YouTube video about that, break that deal down. That's just awesome. Okay, so
All right, so let's see if we can get to an actual 3.0, but I think he already explained it. I think the 3.0 is basically short-term loans to businesses, as he mentioned, to purchase equipment, to pay payrolls, all of that good stuff. There are actually businesses who are doing nothing but that. You don't see 18 years old in charge of decision making for those businesses.
you'll get Gator 1.0 and 2.0. Just start to be on your 3.0. Okay.
Oops, my internet is having issues.
On top of that, here's what you're going to get with Gator. Okay. You're going to get maximum allowable offer calculator. This is something.
Oh, well, now he's launching into a spiel for his community. I'm going to skip all the bonuses. Just like late night salesman, he said, and you also get this, and you also get that, and you also get 3 other things. This is just a hype, in my opinion. But if you're interested in actually signing up for his Gator group, go back to this video and watch it so you can understand those bonuses. In my opinion, most of those things are highly arbitrary. The number that he's assigning to them is arbitrary. Maximum allowable offer calculator, you can get it online for free, completely for free. But I'm not going to criticize. Let's just skip to the rest of the story and see what kind of additional value information he can provide.
This one is massive. We are going to be bringing your ability to get corporate credit to a whole other level. So let's say you're in Gator, you join Gator, you have access to our money immediately on day one. That's a bonus. It was never part of Gator originally. We just brought it as a bonus. Is it a required bonus? No, we just brought it as a bonus. So now you have access to our capital on day one. So as you build your corporate line of credit, you build your company, you get lines of credit, you grow it, you get more and more robust, you get inserted in more and more deals. That is what we're talking about here.
So basically, if I understand correctly, he didn't say it straight out, but if I understand correctly, then part of a Gator method is not to use your own money, but to grow until you can obtain corporate credit. I've never heard of corporate credit, but I can imagine that there is such a thing. So basically, his method seems to be, to me, is first maybe start with your own money and then try to obtain corporate credit, then use corporate credit to borrow money, advertise that money as available to wholesalers. When the wholesalers tell you how much they need for their deals, sign the appropriate paperwork, allow them to have their deal processed through paying their earnest money, and then basically once they pay you back, pay back the corporate credit. So the cool thing about it is that this one is actually a big deal. So if I this one is actually a big deal. I never heard of corporate credit. I've never thought of corporate credit, but I can see how it fits into the Gator structure really well. The whole principle on which Hayes have built his business was using other people's money, OPM, to build and scale some kind of a business. So this way you are never constrained by your own resources. You basically crowdsource resources for your business. What he is talking here about is that, if I understand correctly, his schema is obtain corporate credit, however much that is. Let's just say initially they only give you $5,000. Advertise that $5,000 as available to wholesalers to help to process their deals by paying their earnest money for them. Get money back returned from the wholesalers pay back your corporate credit, slowly increase the amount that the institution is lending to you. And as you increase the amount of corporate credit in your account, you increase your ability to insert yourself into initially just one deal at a time, then maybe 2 deals at a time, 3 deals at a time, and so on, growing very passively in many ways, your bottom line and the money that you're receiving back from the wholesalers. So this corporate credit coaching, that alone, I would say this is very valuable in the system. I am not ready to jump in and pay $2,000 to get corporate credit coaching. I'm sure that if I Google corporate credit, how to get it, there are plenty of resources for free online to do that. But anyhow, this is a really fundamental shift. Remember at the beginning of this video, I told you that I have spent hundreds of hours watching different YouTube personalities and stars deliver ideas on how to generate money passively. In most of those cases, I always faced the biggest restriction in that I didn't have the starting capital, and I still don't have the starting capital. His idea of corporate credit is truly fundamentally groundbreaking for me because I never thought about it. I never thought about getting a loan to start with. Let's just say not even a corporate credit. Let's just say a personal line of credit. Right now, my credit score may not be big enough, and I might have high enough debt to income. I may not be able to secure a personal line of credit. But the idea of borrowing money and then using the borrowed money to borrow money to somebody else, that never occurred to me. And this is where the brilliance of his idea is.
Again, you can use my money on day one, so you don't.
Okay, I'm going to scroll because this is him advertising the community that he's building. If you're interested in learning that from him directly, paying him whatever he requested, let's see how much he's requiring for his to be part of the Gator community.
Wait, here we go. $10,000 value. Today we are doing $29.97 today only. Now, Carly, if you could help me out by putting information in the side chat for people that wanted.
So those of you who are interested in this Gator community and being mentored directly by Paige, that's the cost of his community.
Join the Gator tribe. Can you please put that in the side chat for me, as the side chat for me is where it was last year, except we are now adding lifetime access to all.
Okay, so it's not $3,000. It is $3,000 plus $1,500, so it's about $4,500, just shy of $5,000.
Gator coaching for future Gator athletes. Okay, and we're
I
adding.
must say, for those of you who have no time, who have more time than money, I would say this is probably going to be a good idea because you can, at a very quick pace, learn everything from Pace himself and have other people supporting you and coaching you and giving you one-on-one coaching on how to do those deals. For those of you who have more time than money, who don't have $5,000 to invest, in fact, this is my approach. I'm learning from Pace. And Pace said he never invests his own money. He always uses other people's money to invest in any kind of a deal. So this way his own funds are never at risk. I would actually be interested in how I could borrow money somewhere to pay that $4,500, get access to everything, and then somehow, just like Hayes did, kind of flip the money. But I wouldn't do it out of my own pocket, simply because Pace himself teaches us never invest your own money.
Like that for an additional price. The price is going up today. It is going up today. So here is.
By the way, the price is going up today, only today. I'll be honest. Up until now, I really like the program, but once you turn the pressure tactics on, it's kind of a little bit of a turn off for me.
Next couple of months. Now, one thing that I am teaching inside of sub 2, my
This is the Gator 3.0.
community sub 2, is we're teaching business buying. Now, what we're teaching in Gator is we're teaching business lending. Okay, here's what ends up happening with businesses. And there are over 63 million companies that need funding. What do they need funding for? Well, they need funding for expansion. They need funding for payroll. They need funding for new x-ray machines, right? We have, how much money can you get paid on the deal? This is why this is so great. Okay, in a Gator deal, I can Gator 1.0. If I lend $1,000, it's Gator 1.0. In Gator 1.0, I lend 1,000. Sometimes I can get $3,000 to maybe $4,000 in return in a 10-day period. That's pretty typical, right? Sometimes the loans are $5,000, and I can get a $5,000 to $7,000 return in 10, 15 days, right? Whatever it may be. That's Gator 1.0. Gator 2.0, we talked about that. But in Gator 3.0, there are types of loans that you'll be able to go out and give to people that you could get anywhere between 15 to 20 points on that loan. What does that mean? 15 to 20 points means if I give somebody a loan, let's say a doctor needs an x-ray machine for $100,000, and I go get them a loan for $100,000, I will get paid somewhere around $15,000 to $20,000 as part of my profit on that transaction. The ability to make that.
All right, I'm not too impressed yet because according to him, he could take $1,000 for 10 days and turn it into $4,000 or $5,000 in 10 days, which is, I don't know what percentage-wise. You guys comment put in the comments below. If I take $1,000 for 10 days and I give it to somebody, and within 10 days they give me $4,000, let's just say $4,000 back, what kind of rate of return do I have? Here he's saying that I invest 1,000, 100,000, but I only get 15 to 20 back. It actually seems like a lot more risk for less return. And also I need $100,000 to start with. Now, assuming he's talking about like accessing his corporate blah, 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 his backbone funding. Okay, let's just say I don't need to find $100,000. Let's just say I have that access to that corporate funding. But still 15 to 20K, depends on like, is it on 10 days, 15 days, 30 days, 60 days? Like, what's the rate of return on this? If you're interested in the idea of buying businesses or supporting businesses, funding businesses using your own money, I would say this: start small and grow slowly, because playing with money is a little bit like playing with matches. It's very easy to get burned. But not to say that it's a bad idea, not to say that it's not worth it, not to say that it's nothing to aim for in the future. Long story short, this was the Gator method from Case Morby. I am super psyched. I'm not in love with the proposal of paying $5,000, $4,500 to join a community, just because I've been around real estate meetup groups and real estate communities enough to see how people spend 10, 15, 20, 40, 50, sometimes even more $1,000 on joining different masterminds, joining different trainings, etc., and that money that they spent on joining all these communities, participating in kind of one-on-one trainings, etc., after spending all of that money, they ended up never actually purchasing anything or never actually investing into anything other than training. So to me, that training, the pressure method that he used, were a little put off, I was a little put off, but that doesn't take away at all from the brilliancy of the business idea itself. I will be honest, I'm now obsessed with this, literally. I'm going to try to, I'm in Texas. I'm going to try to figure out how to put together a GV contract to do something like that. And I'm going to find a couple of wholesalers whom I could help just to try 1 or 2 deals to see how I can execute those deals and how secure those deals are and how much money they actually produce. Because if nobody's giving me let's just say $3,000 in return for my $1,000, I would need to reevaluate because dinking around with, let's just say I give you $1,000 and then after 15 days of daily back and forth, so they're going to do the deal, they're not going to do the deal is falling through, the deal is not falling through. That could be a lot of just energy spent watching this deal, hopefully succeeding, just to get another $1,000 in return. May or may not be the investment that I'm looking for, but the proof of concept, even if it just $1,000 return to me after I invested $1,000, I might still be able to do it because I just want to see the proof of concept. Because if I see that the proof of concept works, I will be able to see how to make it work on a bigger scale. Long story short, I have watched so many YouTube videos about different business ideas. Of all of them, these had two original thoughts that other ones did not. Original thought number one, short-term lending. Short-term lending secured by a piece of real estate. That is brilliant. For $1,000, you're actually a participant in a real estate transaction, or $2,000 or $3,000. And you get to dictate your own terms to the wholesaler. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Because how many wholesalers out there needing your service? It's like a service that's sorely missing from the community. That's number one. And number two, not using your own money, but opening a corporate line of credit. Brilliant. Just two brilliant ideas. If you guys want to learn more now, Pace Morby constantly comes up with these brilliant ideas, which I am not 100% sure how he has time to execute all of them. Please subscribe to his channel. Please watch his videos. Please learn his mindset. I'm not advocating for you to join his groups because I'm not sure whether or not it's a healthy environment in there. But I am advocating for you learning his mindset. His mindset is definitely somebody I would like to follow and understand. In fact, he is what I would describe as a new breed of rich dads from the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. He's a new breed. He uses ideas in his head to generate capital. He understands business transactions. He is basically the textbook Rich Dad from Robert Kiyosaki book, only applied to our current environment and applied to real estate. I am hoping to one day have the honor of meeting him in person and have the honor of studying from him in person. Maybe one day I will have enough funds to actually attend one of his trainings. But overall, my hat is completely off to this gentleman for putting the idea together. That's it for now. If you are interested in learning more about what I'm going to do in a few days, is I'm going to take a couple of his other long videos and just like this one, create clip notes for them and then add my commentary to it. And I'm not sure if my commentary actually adds value or not. You might just, you might just be thinking, please shut up, let's just listen to Pace, which I completely understand, what I would completely understand. Anyhow, my thought is I will continue to do the short versions or abbreviated versions, cliff notes of different videos and Zoom calls with Pace because he's just like a fountain of ideas. He's like a fountain of business ideas that nobody else has teaches. Alrighty, see you later. And this was Elena Garrett, and I'm a realtor in Dallas, Fort Worth area of Texas. If you are a wholesaler in Texas, at least in North Texas where I operate, and you're watching this video and you're thinking, how can I use this to my advantage? Let's connect because you and I both now know this Gator method. Let's connect. I would like to collaborate with wholesalers to try this method out just to see how it works. My contact information is in the description below.